Alrighty, so here we go. It's time to do that mega review for this midweek action where we're going to look at all 13 games, which means that this video is probably going to be about an hour and a half long. So again, sit back and grab your popcorn and watch me talk about, once again, a midweek action that feels very similar to last season, where I mentioned last season midweek action are just at times absolutely bonkers. I mean, there's at times just so many goals that have scored in the middle of the week, and I think that maybe could be on purpose because I think that just kind of make people, and especially Don Garber, making sure everyone watch midweek action because that's where it is. And this week again, there was a lot of goals in some of these midweek games, including some that I was not expecting there was going to be a lot of goals, and there was. And then there were games that I was expecting a lot of goals and there wasn't. And that includes the first game we're going to talk about, which is Charlotte versus Orlando City. So if you would have told me that there would be 4 goals in this game, I wouldn't believe you. I mean, I would have absolutely taken the under if you asked me that over or under in terms of there's going to be 3 goals to score in this game, because both of these teams are not known to score a lot of goals. Now that being said, there was a red card in this game, and maybe that kind of helps the fact that there was more goals that's been scored in this one. But it's very rare we see a Charlotte game, and especially at home, that feature a lot of goals. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Maguire puts it wide after a bad turnover from Charlotte, which is something that they don't usually do this season. But that being said, on the first shot for Charlotte, it's in the back of the net. It's Kervin Vargas for the second consecutive game scoring here. And as I said, that was the first shot, and really just some bad defending there from Orlando City that caused had to get the opening goal for Charlotte. And up to this point, I'm thinking, well, looks like Orlando's in trouble, because when Charlotte score the first goal, usually they don't let go of that first goal. And maybe this is going to be it. We're in for another classic Dean Smith kind of game where they're just going to lock it down for the rest of the game and win this 1-0. Though Abada did hit one right to start a higher, and then the post denied Urin from long range. And at least for Charlotte, they didn't seem like they were just done with 1 goal. They were pressing to get the second goal, though Torres hits one right to Kalina, and then Arfield would hits one right to Steinheier in the 19th minute. We then go for a period where not much really happened, which again, not a big surprise, because I feel like every Charlotte game I've always mentioned that kind of phrase with them. But then in the 38th minute, something did happen, as Scott Arfield would get himself sent off in this one after VAR deemed that Arfield challenge on Martin is worthy of a red. It's very similar to the one that Nyman got a red card against Seattle, where he made a behind challenge there, a bit of a reckless kind of behind challenge, and almost kind of like a little stuff behind challenge on Rusnak in that game. And this was kind of the same case here. So yeah, obviously that's a red card. Charlotte was down to 10 men. Kalina then denied Muriel from close range, but we do head to halftime with Charlotte leading 1-0. But this is where it's going to be interesting to see that, Charlotte this season, they haven't had a lot of games where they're down to 10 men, and knowing that they're holding on to just a 1-0 lead, maybe Orlando could take advantage of it. Well, at least early on, it looked like they were going to, when Kalina denied Torres in the front post before Santos missed high from long range. And again, with a man advantage, it looks like Orlando were pressing to try to get the equalizer. Though on the other end, Steinheier denied Abada from the near post, and then Diani heads it wide on the falling corner, as all of a sudden it looked like Charlotte looked to regain momentum. But then in the 63rd minute, Orlando does tie it. It's Duncan Maguire. He scored from Torres and Muriel to tie the game up at 1 apiece. So when all things goes wrong for Orlando City, why not rely on the big dunk to score you a goal? Unfortunately, that equalizer didn't last for too long, because just 13 minutes later, Brent Bronico will restore the lead. He scored from Anjiman to give Charlotte a 2-1 lead. Though on the other end, Janssen did look to respond, but he was robbed by Kalina on the doorstep of goal. That great save, unfortunately, was all for naught, because in the 83rd minute, it finally happened. Facu Torres finally got on the score sheet. I mean, it's been a rough season for Facundo Torres, but he finally gets on the score sheet here. He scored from Ladero. This was actually coming from the corner too. So yeah, Facu Torres is not known to score with his heads. But hey, when you're in a drought and in a disastrous season as Facundo Torres has been, you take any sort of goal. And I even wrote the drought is definitely over, and that ties the game up at 2 apiece. And then they were a post away from making 3-2 as Schlegel had a chance from close, but he was denied by the post. And then Lynn missed wide from close range as Orlando was pushing late to get the winner. They sensed the momentum was with them. I mean, this game at times, the momentum definitely switched back and forth. But in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this game. And the shots in this one, again, this is something you usually do not see in a Charlotte game, which is them allowing a lot of shots. They allow 24 shots in this game compared to just 11 that Charlotte has. 5 shots on goal compared to 9 that Orlando has. 8 shots off target for the 1 that Charlotte has. 3 shots that was blocked for the 6 that Orlando has. And possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that both of these, or not both of these teams, but Charlotte has in this game. And, overall, I'd be on the balance of play. You could say that a draw is fair for both of these teams, and I think both of these teams will take a draw. I mean, I know Orlando would theoretically need to get free points, especially the row has just been kind of their sources of keeping them in the playoff hunt. But considering the fact that they scored 2 goals in this one, and they're finally able to get Facundo Torres to get on the score sheet, that's a big bonus. And for Charlotte, I know they didn't play well defensively in this game, but considering the fact that you're down to 10 men in this game and for majority of the game and still able to hold a draw, I think they'll take it, even if some people feel like they probably should have done done more, because at times they still look pretty decent even though they were down to 10 men. But that being said, moving on in the next match, we got DC versus Atlanta United. So this is a game, as I mentioned, it was a desperation derby between both of these teams, and for a while it looked like neither of these teams was going to get a win. And then Thiago Almada happened in this game. In the first half, 6 minutes in, Benteke would head it right to Guzan. So, the question coming into this game for Atlanta, can they stop Christian Benteke? Because they definitely did not stop him last time when they play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But for Atlanta, did a much better job this time at least. Trying to neutralize Benteke's ability to hit one into the back of the net. Silva then hits the side netting in the near post as the shots were 2-1 for Atlanta early on. Tubbs would then hits one right to Guzan. This was probably the best game for Garrison Tubbs, and that's not a big surprise because I mentioned before that, with his whole fiasco of him being a homegrown for Atlanta only to be let go and then snatched up by DC, and how he definitely has a vendetta against Atlanta of what happened earlier this season. It's no surprise he was really up for this game. Patula then hits one high from long range before Benteke hits it over from long range, as I thought DC was creating some good half chances as they now look for the opener. Though on the other end, Rios would hits one right to Miller before Miller denied Amada in the 43rd minute. Tyler Miller getting his first start in this game. Always like to see Tyler Miller get a start. I mean, he obviously isn't the same player as he was during his time with LAFC in Minnesota, but good to see him getting a rare start in this one as Bono gets an day off. But there was no doubt that Atlanta was pushing late for the equalizer, or not the equalizer, I'm sorry, but they're pushing for the opener before halftime. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, it looked like we got the first goal of the game when Mateus Click puts it into the back net. Unfortunately, the flag did not agree with him, as the goal was disallowed for offside. Then Lennon puts it high on the doorstep of goal. Yeah, that's one that Brooks Lennon wanted to have back, because that was a glorious opportunity for him to get the opening goal. Well, there was really not much chances after that, as both of these teams really started to kind of have problems in the final third. Though, as I said, Tubbs would ends one over from close range before Miller denied Silver from close, and you just kind of had a sense that this game may be up for grabs. Again, this is a desperation derby. Both of these teams desperately want to get this first goal to get a massive 3 points, and in the end, it's Atlanta, the one that gets the opening goal. And as I said, Thiago Almada happened as he scored here from fortune to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead. So when all things are in doubt and when things are not going right for Atlanta, they definitely are hoping Thiago Almada would show up, and he definitely showed up here. I mean, this was a vintage Almada strike here. He did that a lot last season. He hasn't done as much of that this season, but certainly one that is a huge goal for this Atlanta team that desperately need to get going for this really rough patch of them only winning one in the last 12 games. Though that being said, Piani did look to respond, but he missed wide before Herrera had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. And then Guzan absolutely robbed Benteke from a point blank header. This was probably the best opportunity that Benteke has, and this is kind of when I mentioned how the question is, can they stop Benteke in terms of getting these good look on the header, and that was probably the best look that Benteke has had. But Guzan make a huge save here to rob him from point blank range. But there was no doubt that Atlanta was holding on. I mean, DC was piling the pressure. They were throwing the kitchen sink late to get the equalizer. Merrill would then puts it wide in the front post for Benteke was in on goal there, but his shot was crucially blocked by Derek Williams, and he had to because it looked like Benteke was in on goal. It looked like he was gonna hit that one and sneak it into the back post, but Williams just kind of came out of nowhere, making a crucial block there. And in the end, Atlanta they get a rare victory, at least in the last 12 games. This is only their second win that they had in the last 13 games, but they'll take it. They win 1-0 against DC, and the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 10 that Atlanta has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 4 shots off target compared to 7 that DC had. 8 shots on blocked with the 2 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Atlanta has in this game. So yeah, the Rob Valentino second term as an interim head coach here has definitely kicked off with finally getting a win, and we'll see whether or not they can build this heading into the next couple of weeks. But for DC, yeah, they're continuing to go into the wrong direction right now. And while they definitely played much better in this game compared to the last game that they play, yeah, just finishing is just not there. And this I also think can just sums up the season for DC in terms of this game where they haven't played bad in some of these games. They have looked good at least in some of these games, but the underlying number just haven't been in their favor. I mean, they're probably the worst team right now terms of just having the underlying number being so friendly to them, but yet they just have nothing to show for it because they just have poor clinical finishing, and also not to mention lapses of concentration at time to drop points late, and that's really started to take a hit on Troy Lissane's team. Now, that being said, moving on in the next match is Columbus and Inter Miami. So, well, coming into this game, I mentioned that this is the fifth game in a row for Columbus on the road, and I did also mention the fact that when you have a long road trip like this, it's always going to be tough. In the last game, you're going to have a bit of a letdown. Though I also said that the good thing about Columbus during this 5 game road trip is that they kind of at least got a break during this 5 game road trip in part of participating in the CONCACAF Champions League final against Pachuca. But at the same time, you kind of had a sense that yeah, this is a Columbus team that they want to go home bad. Though they did definitely did show some fight, and Miami kind of had to hold on for dear life late in this one. Though early on, I want to also mention the audio definitely sounds off in this game. I mean, again, I know this season and really last season, Apple TV has done a much better job in terms of the audio compared to what we see with ESPN Plus, and definitely on the Fox broadcast. But yeah, this game was not it. This game they definitely had problems with the audio, and they didn't really fix it as the game goes along. Though that being said, 2 minutes in, Kamaski would puts it wide from long range as that was the game's first shot. Taylor did try to chip Schulte from long range, but he missed wide after just a bad turnover from Columbus. Turnover was a problem for Columbus in this game. There was no doubt that Miami was looking lively early on. They were the better team. They were looking to press for the opener, and they do get it. And what a moment this is! And this moment, I mean, you talk about feel good story this season. I think this is probably one of the best feel good story this season, as Ian Fry would score from Gresso to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And the reason why I say this is such a feel good story, this is a guy that has gone through hell in terms of injury. I mean, you talk about a guy that kind of is going through the Courtney Fort kind of treatment, and I know I don't want to kind of make comparison to Courtney Fort, who is considered to be one of the most snake bitten player when it comes to injuries in MLS history, but I mean, this is a guy in Ian Fry. He suffered 3 torn ACL in his young career, and it has to be heartbreak broken into the for him to have to go through such a difficult time in his young career. Like usually that just absolutely breaks a young player, but not Ian Fry. What a determination to come back in his first game. Now I don't think he was expecting to score a goal in his first game back, especially with him being a defender. You're not expecting him to score on the score sheet, but what a moment that is, and I wouldn't blame him even tear up when he scored that goal, because that is just what a feel good story that is. And even when I saw that goal, when went in, and even though he has the same first name as I am, I almost got kind of shed a little bit of a tear because I know what it feels to see players go through uh so many long-term injuries, and that to come back not only stronger but also scoring on on the day after you come back from another brutal injury. That is definitely a very great feel good story. But that being said, in the 15-minute, Cucho did look to respond, but he puts it wide before Shote denying Campana from close range. But he couldn't save the shot from Campana in the 22nd minutes as he scored here to make it 2-0 in favor of Miami. And this also came after Columbus just didn't clear their lines. Columbus was very poor in this game in terms of defending, and especially in terms of defending set pieces, as we'll talk about in just a bit. Though on the other end, Calendar denied Cucho from close before Cucho would hits it high from close range as well. Or yeah, he hits it high from close. And again, and I thought it was a good response for the Crew. They were pressing to trying to get one back. Though Taylor did had a chance for Miami to make it 3-0, but he hits one right to Schulte. But then in the 40th minute, I mean, if you keep giving Cucho a chance, he's gonna eventually bury it, and he scored here from Morris to make it 1-1 in this, or no, I'm sorry, 2-1 in this game because Miami was up 2-0 up to this point. And then Fry tried to look to get his second goal, but he heads it right to Schulte, and this again almost a carbon copy of the first goal that he scored. And again, on a night where we were expecting Miami to have trouble in terms of defending set pieces because they're one of the worst team in terms of defending set pieces, it's actually Columbus the one that is having problem in terms of dealing with set pieces. But in the fourth minute stoppage time, Cucho did fires at high as the halftime whistle was blown, and we do head to halftime with Miami leading 2-1. But in the second half, Columbus started to put forth to get the equalizer. After Shote denied Taylor from close range, this is when Columbus really started to take over this game. Ramirez would hits one right to counter. There was a shout for a penalty for the Crew not given. I mentioned the Crew completely in control of this game. They were pushing for the equalizer, and something tells me Miami is definitely holding on for dear life because again, this is a team that they're gonna have to nurse through this next month without their best player. And I will say that they've definitely done a good job at least in these last two games, and maybe at times kind of relying on a little bit of black magic in terms of able to get the win. I wouldn't say this was one of those games. This was a game where Drake Calendar reminds you that yeah, he's a really good goalkeeper in this league because he denied Cucho on a 1v1. In fact, I probably should have said that he robbed Cucho on a 1v1. You usually do not see Cucho miss on a 1v1 opportunity, but Drake Calendar with a big save here to deny Columbus the equalizer. Miami was clearly holding on up to this point. The Crew was piling on the pressure to get the equalizer. Arston had a chance to do so, but he puts it wide from close range. And yeah, in the end, despite Miami was really holding on by the skin of their teeth, they hold on to win 2-1 in this one. As the shots in this one, 13 shots for the 18 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal for the 7 that Miami has, 2 shots off target for the 6 that Columbus had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to the 35% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. You know who is very irritated right now that Miami is still winning? It's gonna be FC Cincinnati because FC Cincinnati has to be thinking what do they need to do to just keep passing Inter Miami because they've been like I think like a point behind Inter Miami for a while. And yes, well, I think Cincinnati still could call past Miami because they do have a game in hand. It has to be very frustrated that literally this is an Inter Miami team that has shown in the past that without some of their best player and especially without the go, they can't win games, and yet all of a sudden they're winning games right now. So I'm pretty sure Cincinnati fans has been kicking themselves the fact that how in the world is this still happening? How in the world does Miami keep still winning games even though they're with almost without all their best player. Though again, I think this is a testament to the depth that this Inter Miami team has had, and especially a testament of how good this victory is because it is not very often you see the Columbus Crew lose a game. But again, for the Crew, I feel like this is just an example of them being. This is the fifth game in a row on the road. They desperately need to go back home. They're probably tired of being on the road all this time. And I would argue this is technically 6 games in a row on the road if you include the CCL or the CONCACAF Champions Cup final against Pachuca. So with Renanti side want to go back home, and the good news is they will do so in terms of their weekend matchup. But that being said, moving on in the last game on this board, and we're gonna have to switch board two times because we're gonna look at all 13 games. And that, of course, is Montreal and the New York Red Bulls. So I gotta say, this was almost kind of similar to what we saw in the last game, where the Red Bulls were very frustrated that they couldn't score those goals despite getting a lot of chances against Nashville. But the good news for the Red Bulls is they did score those goals and eventually come from behind. The bad news though is that it's pretty much the same result. When they got a point against Nashville, they only got a point in this game against Montreal. Now, early on, the first shot of the game did see Nealis puts it wide from close, and then in the 11th minute, Sanusi Ibrahim would gets the opening goal for Montreal. So all of a sudden, Sanusi Ibrahim has been red hot lately. He's been scoring the goals for this Montreal side. And this was kind of unfortunate for in terms of the Red Bulls perspective, because Daniel Edelman actually blocked this header off the line, but it will fall right into the path of Ibrahim. And with how hot Ibrahim has been, yeah, he's not gonna miss that. You know who also is not hot? Dante Van He looked to respond, but he puts it over the bar because that's just how it is lately for Dante Van Opoku then hits one right to Mera. Mahalo Opoku getting himself back in this game for the first time since his injuries, and I thought he looked good in this one. He even got on the score sheet too. In the 27th minute, Mera did deny Opoku from close range, so Ryan Mera get his second consecutive start. I think Carlos Cornell might be away with Brazil right now, if I'm not mistaken, because it's kind of interesting to see Ryan Mera getting back-to-back start, which is kind of a rare thing. Siwas then denied Vincier from close before Manuel would put it wide from close range. Then Duncourt would hit it right to Siwas in the 39th minute. Again, the Red Bulls, they were creating some really good opportunity for the equalizer. But just like what we've been asking back on the weekend, and they show that clinical finishing that they just didn't show against Nashville. Well, apparently not yet, because on the other end, Montreal would make it 2-0, and really kind of against the run of play, as Mahala Opoku would score from Edwards to make it 2-0 in favor of Montreal. Again, as I said, it was against the run of play, because up to this point, it looked like the Red Bulls were more likely to get the equalizer. Nealis then hits it high from close before Carmona would hit it right to Siwas, as the Red Bulls once again pile on the pressure to try to get the get one back, but we do head to halftime with Montreal leading 2-0. In the second half, Siwas would deny Carmona in the near post before Nealis had a shot that was clear off the line by Ibrahim, and that's when I knew that, yeah, this feels like it's one of those games again for the Red Bulls. Like, when that happens, you know that it's not your night when it comes to finishing. But as I said that, in the 61st minute, the Red Bulls finally broke through as Wiki Carmona gets a goal back for the Red Bulls to make it 2-1 in favor of Montreal. Saliba did look to respond and restore the 2-goal lead, but he curls it wide from long range. And then Nealis would head it right to Siwas before Carmona would also do the same thing just 2 minutes later. No doubt the Red Bulls were pressing again for the equalizer. The momentum was all with them, and Montreal kind of felt like they were just hanging on a bit. I mean, there was a lot of suspected defending from them, especially with the amount of chances that they were giving up. Harper would then put it over from close range, but then the 88th minute, the Red Bulls got their deserved equalizer as Julian Hall would score from Burke and Nealis to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I forgot to mention that was actually the first career goal for Julian Hall, and I think he became the second youngest goal scorer in MLS history, with him scoring in that moment. And also, not to mention, he just came onto the game. So talk about an instant super sub kind of impact that Julian Holt had in this one. Though in the 5th minute stoppage time, Siwas would deny Vincier after just a poor giveaway for Montreal. And I also wrote that just kind of sums up Vincier stretch lately. I mean, it's been a nightmare stretch of run for this past month or two for Dante Vincier. It's almost like he's gone back to 2023 form, where he just could not finish and just completely snake bin as a result. And as a result, the Red Bulls, despite once again, they look like they dominated this one against Montreal and probably should have scored more than the 2 goals that they had. They only walk away with a 2-2 draw, and the shots kind of tells the story too. They had 25 shots compared to 10 that Montreal has. They had 10 shots on goal compared to 4 that Montreal has. Though I will say that Siwas definitely had a good game in this one, and in some way could say that Seawash was one of the big reasons why the Red Bulls didn't get all 3 points in this game. 8 shots off target for the one that Montreal has. 4 shots that was blocked for the seven that the Red Bulls had. And possession wise, 50% for both of these teams. And I also think that both of these teams won't be too happy with this result. I mean, the Red Bulls, yes, they did come from behind from this 2-0 victory and salvage a point, but it's got to be frustrating the fact that these last two games, they could have easily got 3 points in both of these games if they were a little bit much better in terms of their finishing. And for Montreal, I mean, anytime when you blow a 2-0 lead at home, and I don't care if your defense just kind of collapses in the second half. Yeah, that's not a good feeling. And this team, draws are not going to help their causes in terms of getting up in the standings, and especially dropping points at home after you blow a 2-0 lead. Like I said, not a good feeling for this Montreal side. That being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next four games as part of this mega review that I'm doing in terms of reviewing all the midweek action of match week number 20. So moving on, we got Toronto versus Nashville SC, and I gotta say, for Toronto, yeah, things are not looking good for John Herman's side, and it feels like they're started to slide back to where we were early in the season when they had a good run, and then they went through a bit of a rough patch, and it feels like they're back in that place now after losing now back to back games, and especially losing to back to back opponent that is near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Now, in the first half, Bunbury would puts it over from close range, and I also would like to say that this was a tale of two halves because TFC absolutely dominated the first half in this one. But not much really happened, at least early on. The shots were 2-1 for TFC 15 minutes in. Benedeski would hit one that was spilled by Willis, but was gathered on the second effort. Insigne then puts it over from close before Insigne curls it wide from long range. By the way, this is the first game of what seems like it's been a while since TFC had both the two Italians in Insigne and Bernadeschi, and even then didn't really help them in terms of getting a victory. And also doesn't help the post with denying Owusu from close range. Prince Owusu has been snake bitten at time these last couple of games. I mean, he had a good run in the beginning of the season, but man, these last couple of games he's been getting the Dante Van Zier treatment. But there was no doubt that TFC was pounding on the door. But the question is, can they show that clinical finishing that was missing up to this point? And they had a chance to finally that deserved a goal when a penalty was given to them after Onunga brought down Benedeski in the box. Now, Benedeski actually steps up to take this penalty, and I have a feeling this is the last time we're going to see Federico Benedeski takes a spot kick because, yeah. They mentioned that he has really struggled in terms of scoring from the penalty spot. He's already missed, I think, like two penalties doing his time with TFC. Actually, free penalty doing his time with TFC. And guess what happened here? He basically slipped here. He's skied it into Lake Ontario from the spot. And, it's been a while since I have seen a player actually slip on the turf as he was trying to connect the ball from 12 yards out. But when that happens, yeah, that is not a great feeling if you're the penalty kick taker. That's like the worst case scenario if you're a penalty taker to slip in the vital moment and basically send that one forfeit. And that's exactly what happened. And I mean wrote, yeah, that might be the last time we're gonna see Benedeski take a penalty as he's now missed not actually free, but now four penalty doing his time with TFC. There's no doubt that Insigne is gonna get that designated spot the next time. On the other end, Zimmerman with a rare opportunity for Nashville, but he missed that one wide. But then in the 34th minute, finally TFC got their deserved goal as Cuello would score from Benedeski and Etienne to give TFC a 1-0 lead. So Benedeski sort of redeemed himself by getting on the assist chart. But that also is the first career MLS goal there from Cuello and one that we all saw coming. I mean, TFC was just was pretty much pounding on the door for the opening goal, and they just should have made it 2-0 in the 39th minute if Owusu just completely fluff his lines from close range. Again, that's just a sign of a guy that just have no confidence whatsoever. And despite the fact that TFC had a lot of chances, it was only 1-0 heading into the second half. And remember that because that would come back to haunt TFC in a big way because in the second half, this is when the momentum changed to Nashville's favor. It starts with Surridge missed wide from close in the 48th minute before Willis denied long after just a bad turnover there from I wrote TFC Yeah, I wrote TFC, but that should have been Nashville, the one that actually I mentioned. But anyway, speaking of Nashville, in the 65th minute, Sam Surridge would score as he scored from Mukhtar and Davis to give Nashville the equalizer. So again, Sam Surridge, he's kind of a very streaky number nine. When he's on, he's definitely on. When he's not on, yeah, he's gonna have some rough games, and he was definitely on in this game. Gavron then denied Zimmerman on the header. By the way, guess who was on the assist chart? Hani Mukhtar. I think I've heard what I said in the preview of how he's been having a dormant kind of run lately, and that he definitely showed up in this game. And it's also no surprise that when Nashville wins, it's usually when both Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge showed up and are on the score sheet or on the assist chart. But as I said, the momentum was all with Nashville up to this point, and this is where after you being so dominant in the first half, if you only are able to muster one goal, not take away with your chances and keep your opponent in the game, yeah, it's gonna come back to haunt you in a big way. Mukhtar then puts it wide in the 78th minute. That actually completely fooled Joe Tolleson, the play-by-play guy, and maybe even some Nashville fans as they were watching this on TV. And I don't blame Joe Tolleson of completely getting fooled by that, because I think depending on where he was watching, you can clearly see at first look it definitely looked like that one goes into the back of net. It's one of those ones where when the ball basically hits the stanchion rope and then hits the back of the net and it ripple, it really makes an almost an optical illusion the fact that the ball did win into the back of the net. But it's still 1-1 up to this point. Benedeski then heads it wide from close range, but then in the 90th minute, Sam Surridge gets the winner as he scored from Boyd to make it 2-1 in favor of Nashville, and that would be the final score of this game as Nashville, they come from behind on the road, getting a 2-1 win in this one. The shots on this one, 16 shots compared to 11 that Nashville has, 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that TFC had, 9 shots off target compared to none that Nashville has. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Nashville has in this game. So, like I said, for Nashville, the good come from behind win for them, and that I feel like this is just a classic example of what happened when in a game of two halves, when you don't take advantage of your chances, you're going to be punished. And in this one, TFC didn't take advantage of their chances. They got punished. Nashville was able to do in the second half, and they were rewarded by getting a roll win in this game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, this game was bonkers between Cincinnati and the Philadelphia Union, and it kind of had had that playoff feel too, at least in the beginning. And it's just kind of almost a quick reminder that it doesn't really matter if one of these teams are doing bad. You're gonna get a good game between these two teams that is kind of form a bit of a rivalry between two teams that play a very similar style, and not to mention with some people are saying that yeah, Cincinnati is pretty much like the Union of the West, with the way that they have a lot of former Union player, and not to mention the guy that is in charge of the of Cincinnati comes from Jim Curran's coaching tree. So early on, not much really happened early, and again early on, you wouldn't have guessed it that this game would have finished 4-3, as it was very tense, and again it feels very similar to last season in the playoff series where it was very cagey in the first 25 minutes. In fact, there was no shots for the first 25 minutes of this game. The first shot did came in the 25th minute when Bueno had a shot that was put high from long range. But then on the first shot for Cincinnati, it goes into the back of net. It's Kevin Kelsey. He scored from Acosta and Kubo to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. It was a great build up there, but what in the world where the Union defense there, especially how in the world did Kelsey get completely unmarked in the back post? Like you know that he is one of the most dangerous goal scorer for this Cincinnati team. So to leave him completely unmarked like that, I mean that is not a big surprise to see the Union was punished because of it. So yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. By the way, optional defending was a thing in this game at time. Bueno did look to respond, but he puts it wide from long range. But then in the 43rd minute, the Union does tie it up. It's Ty Barabo. He scored from Uru and Paizo to tie the game up at 1 apiece. So Barabo, of course, getting a rare start here. I'm surprised he's not getting as many starts as he is, because he has potential to do well, and especially now that Carranza is out, I think Barabo will get more starts from here on out. but we do head to halftime with the score line tied up at one apiece. It wouldn't say tie for long though, because in the second half, a penalty was given to Cincinnati after Elliott brought down Kubo in the box. That was a bit of a questionable penalty, I will say, because yeah, it definitely didn't look like there was too much contact into it. I feel like Kubo might have sailed that a little bit more, but nevertheless, the referee says it's a penalty. In comes Lucho Acosta to take the penalty. You know Lucho Acosta's not going to miss from the spot, and he doesn't. So he restored the lead for Cincinnati from the spot in the 49th minute. Bueno once again looked to response, but he puts it wide from long range before Sautano denied McLean from long range. But then in the 55th minute, Bueno would tie the game up as he scored from Wagner to tie the game up at two apiece, and that was just not great set piece defending there from Cincinnati. Again, defending at times were kind of optional in this one. And I also are not surprised that Cincinnati did not do well in this game in terms of defending because they're already down Miles Robinson because of national team duty. But now they're also down Matt Miazga because of that injury that he suffered over the weekend against the Quakes. But that being said, in the 60th minute, and it feels like every time when the Union were able to tie it up, Cincinnati immediately take the lead back. As in the 60th minute, Lucas Oriano would do a Chicho Arango here as he scored from the halfway line from Buka to make it 3-2 in this one. I mean, that is definitely a goal of the week locked down, and just another goal that is scored from the halfway line. What is it with MLS in terms of goals scoring from the halfway line? Like I swear, I watch other leagues and I usually never see goals that is scored from the halfway line. That's in other leagues that is as rare as seeing a goal scored from an Olympico, but in this league, for whatever reason, it feels like it has happened more often than usual. I mean, I already mentioned Chicho Rango did it earlier this season. We also saw a couple of that last season as well, and maybe that's also kind of just a reminder of how MLS, even though I know the quality at times is not up to standard compared to some of the European league, but man, this league does provide some of the best banger and some of the craziest goal we have ever seen in early. Because tell me, when you watch other European league, that you will see a season where you'll see like at least two or three times where a goal is basically scored from the halfway line. But in the 65th minute, Kelsey did look for another, but he missed high there before Hario had a free header there, but he puts it wide from the corner. Again, defending set pieces. This does not seem like a priority from either of these teams. Both of these teams has been really poor in terms of defending set pieces. Though in the 73rd minute, Sautano would deny Hario from close before Semlet would deny the former Union player Santos who was trying to finish this one up. But then in the first minute stoppage time, again, anytime when Cincinnati had the lead, the Union always have an answer. As Derbo would score his second goal of the game, he scored from Wagner and Raffinello to tie the game up at all three apiece. But as I was saying also before, every time when the Union get the equalizer, Cincinnati always have an answer to take the lead back, and they take the lead back for good in the 11 minute of stoppage time as Lucho Acosta basically just went beast mode here. He scored here from Assad to make it 4-3 in this one, and that's just kind of vintage Lucho and why Lucho Acosta was the MVP this season, and I will not be surprised that he's going to be running for MVP once again this year as well. I mean, he is basically the nucleus of the Cincinnati team, and that he just kind of shows you what every team wish to have on their with their best player to kind of not only carry the team on his back, both on the assist chart, but also on the goal scoring chart as well. As in the end, Cincinnati, in a wild game that we saw, especially in the second half, they won 4-3 in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 12 that the Union has. Both teams had 5 shots on goal, 5 shots off target for the 4 that the Union has, 1 shot on the block for the 5 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that the Union has in this game. And again, this just feels like it's insult to injury for the Union. I mean, after suffering such a soul-crushing loss that they had over the weekend against Miami, this just adds insult to injury of the fact that they fought so hard in this game 3 times that they came back from going down, and yet they gave up a late goal. And I'll reiterate what I said about the Union over the weekend. I don't know how you can recover from this. Like taking one soul crushing loss to the opposition is tough to recover, but take two and in a span of just 3 days, yeah, I would not be surprised that the Union won't be able to recover from this. And again, this summer they have a big decision to make. I do think that it might be time for them to really dismantle the core, and rebuilding could seems like could be a reality for this Union team in the near future. But that being said, moving on in the next match. So this game wasn't as crazy as what we saw between Cincinnati and the Union, between Austin and LAFC. But what I will say is that Austin almost did something very similar to what they were doing earlier this season when they were unexpectedly winning games, and that of course is somehow able to just put a couple of shots and maybe get a goal and basically walk away with a lucky 1-0 reserve. But unfortunately, Kai Kamara had other ideas in this one, and he finally decided that tonight is the night where he make history against Los Verdes. But in the first half, Bawanga did have the game's first shot, but he missed high there. There was only one shot for the first 17 minutes in this one, despite the fact that Austin had all the possession up to this point. Keep in mind, it was raining throughout this game, and yeah, the rain definitely played a factor throughout this game, especially. We really slowed down this LAFC team, and that's not the first time that has happened, because it's like LAFC team is very susceptible when it comes to rain, and this is where I'm pretty sure every team are just praying to Mother Nature when they play against LAFC that make sure it rains or maybe even snow very heavily so we can slow down this LAFC team. But in the 19th minute, on only the second shot of the whole game, and really the first shot for Austin, they scored. It's O'Brien. He scored from JUC to tie, or not tie the game, but lead 1-0 up to this point. And really, this came off of just a rare bad turnover from LAFC. LAFC has been really good defensively throughout this last month or two. I mean, they did go through a stretch where they went 500 plus minutes without conceding a goal, and here it was just a rare kind of bad turnover. You usually never see this LAFC. And not to mention, it also kind of took a fortunate deflection for Austin and for O'Brien to score that one. And that's when you kind of realize that, yeah, it looks like maybe Austin is up to their crazy against all odds of defying the expectancy goal to maybe get a win in this one, right? But yeah, that made it 1-0. Burrow then looked for a second, but he missed high there. Little do we know that was only going to be the second of just 3 shots that Austin would get in this one. Like, Austin was basically treating this like a road game against LAFC. But in the 30th minute, Segura puts it high from long range before Ordaz hits it right to Stuver. Stuver then denied Bogusz in the near post as LAFC was pushing to try to get the equalizer. Bogusz then hits one high from long range, and we do head to halftime. Despite the fact that LAFC definitely had some sustained pressure, they were down 1-0 heading into the second half. In the second half, it was kind of more of the same, with LAFC continuing to push for the equalizer. Campos had a shot that actually took a deflection off of Bawanga, and Bawanga almost redirect that one toward a goal, but the shot goes wide. Hoover then denied Bawanga from close as LAFC no doubt was on the front foot. They were pressing hard to get the equalizer. And then we had some coming together around the hour mark when Bawanga and Barrow definitely had some choice words, and I believe Bawanga inexplicably brought down Barrow kind of in an unpleasant way onto the ground, and both of these guys were definitely exchanging some choice words. And then just 2 minutes after that incident, Valencia decided to retaliate. He basically brought down Bawanga, and when you're basically going to retaliate, not only the fact that you're going to get an automatic yellow card for that, but maybe you shouldn't try to do it right in front of the LAFC bench, because he did it right in front of the LAFC bench when he made that slide tackle on Bawanga, and that LAFC bench was absolutely fuming. I'm also surprised that there was not really a big coming together, and the LAFC bench are just gonna come off the bench and get involved in that incident, because I've seen so many times when retaliation has happened, not just in MLS but in other sports league like the MLB or even in the NHL. That the when you retaliate that, yeah, that's a bench clearing kind of moment, but it didn't happen. It was just a yellow card for Valencia, and that LAFC bench, rightfully so, they were furious. They want a red card because of the retaliation. Bawanga then missed wide from long range in the 69th minute before he puts it wide from long range. Bawanga had a lot of chance up to this point. Oh, by the way, did I say Bawanga in the 69th minute? I meant Bogusz was the one that missed wide from a long range, and then Bawanga puts it wide from long range in the 79th minute. There was no doubt Austin was firmly parking the bus up to this point. In fact, they pretty much was parking the bus ever since the 25th minute mark, LAFC was pushing hard to try to get the equalizer. And more times than not, when you park the bus like that, it usually does not go well for you. But at least for Austin, again, at times it has worked out for them. Holland's head would then hits it high from close before Stuver denied Bawanga in the near post. But then in the 90th minute, LAFC finally got that equalizer and finally solved this Austin back line. And guess who? It's Kai Kamara scoring from Bogusz to tie the game up at one apiece. It's history that is being made because that is his 145th career MLS goal, which now equals Donovan mark of second all time in MLS. Now, there's no doubt that I don't think Kai Kamara is probably going to catch Wando in terms of scoring 170 one career goal, but what a moment that is. I mean, I think that the last couple of years when I follow Wando in terms of his chase of Donovan, I never thought that another player could try to reach the same mark. I mean, maybe Kai Kamara might do so, but I wasn't expecting Kai Kamara to be an ageless wonder and continue to get chances and kind of becoming the ultimate journeyman in MLS history. But yeah, what a moment this is from Kai Kamara, and that when he does decide to announce for his retirement, I'm instantly gonna make a video and talk about what an achievement Kai Kamara has had. I mean, again, you talk about a guy that is probably the best journeyman ever in MLS history. Kai Kamara is literally the name to do so because I don't think there's anybody in this league that is an ultimate journeyman like Kai Kamara that's been on pretty much half of the league team doing his career, had a successful career than he has, with him now reaching second of all time in terms of the MLS goal scoring list, or at least now tied with it. He needs one goal to basically pass Donovan for that second all time list. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw on this one, and the shots in this one, again, for Austin, they were treating this as a road game because they only had 3 shots in this one compared to 17 that LAFC had. 4 shots on goal for the 1 that Austin has, 1 shots off target for the 8 that LAFC had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 4 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that Austin has in this game. So Austin, very, very close of pulling off another miraculous win despite pretty much doing nothing throughout majority of the game. And for LAFC, I think they're just kind of relieved the fact that they eventually got the equalizer because there's kind of those kind of games where we have seen before where LAFC just put on a crooked number in terms of the shots total. They just couldn't show that clinical finishing, but they can thank Kai Kamara by saying that finally this is the day where he's gonna make some history, and yeah, it'll definitely take a point out of this game of what could have been a very frustrating game for LAFC. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board, and we'll switch the board. And did I say we're gonna switch the board 2 more times when I talk about the first board? I meant 3 more times because I still have to put notes for 4 of these games, or actually 3 of these games, and I'll put notes on the other board on 2 of those games. But the last game, at least on the second of what will be 4 boards that we'll talk about, as we're now pretty much in the midway part of this review, is Dallas and Minnesota. So yeah, this game, I will say for Minnesota, they definitely play much better in this game, at least on the attacking perspective compared to them against Seattle, because yeah, that game against in Seattle, that attack basically was just it was a no-show in that game. But unfortunately, in this game, it's kind of the opposite. It felt like in this game, while the attack definitely showed up, the defense definitely did not show up in this game. And my word, the defense! Wow, this performance really reminds me of the first 2 seasons of Minnesota when they were just giving up goals at will at the back. But in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Trap puts it set over the bar from long range, as I thought the Loons were on the front foot. They had most of the possession. In fact, they actually would end up having most of the possession throughout this game. But that kind of wasn't a good thing because coming into this game, these 2 teams were very similar to each other. They like to hit each other on the counterattack. So when you're the team that dictate possession, and you're basically facing a team that likes to counterattack, that usually doesn't bowl well for you, and it definitely did not bowl well for Minnesota in this game. I was kind of very surprised that Eric Ramsey decided to not just allow Dallas to have the possession because this is a team that's not very good when it comes to breakdown teams. So why in the world did he decided to be the protagonist, and knowing that one of your strengths is also to break teams down, going through transition instead of breaking the team down with possession. So that being said, the first shot for Dallas did see Kamungo hits it right to Irvin before Frazier would hit one right to Irvin in the 14th minute as the shots were 2-1 for Dallas 15 minutes in. But then on the third shot for Dallas, it's in the back of the net as Pedro Musa would score from Ariola to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. This is by far the best game that Pedro Musa would have, and maybe kind of a breakout game too for the DP Croatian. There was definitely hints that this could have been offside. In fact, they never really showed me the replay of whether or not if this was offside. On the first look, it definitely looked like it was offside, but again, because they didn't show a replay, and then I'm kind of too lazy to go back to watch this game again. I'm gonna assume maybe that probably should have been offside, but on the call they'll just say it's onside. But one that I also thought that offside or onside or not, that is one that Clint Irvin want to have back. And I know that in this game Clint Irvin got a lot of stake because of how many goals have he conceded, but really I think that this game is not entirely on Clint Irvin. I mean, maybe partially because of this goal that he conceded, but I feel like this is the only goal that Clint Irvin conceded where I feel like he could have done better. All the other goal that he conceded, I think he had no chance. You can even put Dane Sinclair in goal in this one. This one is probably the only one I think would have Dane Sinclair would have prevented, and the other four goals, yeah, Dane Sinclair probably would have had no chance whatsoever. But yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. Did try to respond, but he hits it right pause before Rosales puts one just high from long range. And then Musa looked like he made it 2-0, but the flag did not agree with him, and this time it was disallowed for offside. And I'll tell you what, this one looks less of being an offside than the first one that he scored. But nevertheless, I also wrote the back line for the Loons is having a lot of problem in terms of dealing with Dallas transition, and that would be kind of the theme throughout this game as well. Paz then denied Longwane from long range, but then in the 33rd minute, Longwane would score. He scored from Rosales to make it 1-1 in this one. This was probably the best game that Bongi had played for this season. It's been a rough season for Bongi, and that hopefully this game will maybe be a game where he started to rediscover his good form that he has, especially last year in the Leagues Cup, or the fact that those rumors of him going to Turkey probably is going to come true, and that he's probably going to sold off for a bit of an amount this summer. But that was also another goal coming from the corner, and again, it feels like scoring from the corner seems like the key for Minnesota. I never thought that they would be the corner king in MLS. Though that being said, they do have a head coach in Eric Ramsey that were coming into this game were a set piece specialist, and I feel like at least doing his early term with this team, it's kind of shown you why that is the case. Because I don't remember Minnesota scored this many corner goal last season, and they already done it, and we're not even into July. But also again, the set piece marking was bad for Dallas in that one. Though in the 42nd minute, Mowane looked to well, actually doesn't look for a response. He looked to try to score his second one. But he hits it wide off the volley. I thought the game started to become stretched. Lud would then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Actually, you know what? I just realized, did I just miss a goal from Dallas? I think I missed a goal from Dallas, didn't I? Yeah, let me go back in terms of the notes. Actually, let me get my phone here. Yeah, I wrote on one and look for a response because I think I did miss a goal from Dallas. Yeah, I did miss a goal from Dallas. So yeah, again, I don't know why I didn't put this as Musa would score in the 39th minute to make it 2-1 up to this point. I did this board last night, by the way. So for those of you wondering why there's a lot of mistake, I did this board right after when I came back from the game between the Quakes and the Portland Timbers. So yeah, when I did this board and I was relatively tired, that kind of explains why I missed some of these things because yeah, Musa did score here in the 39th minute to give the lead for Dallas again, and once again, just that was some optional defending there from the Loons, just allowing a breakaway goal like that. It wouldn't be the first time we would see throughout this game. And then, of course, this is when I say Longwane looked to response, but he hits it off the volley. Again, I counted the number, and I think there's only 4 goals I put, even though Dallas would end up scoring 5 by the end of tonight. So that being said, I also thought that the game kind of becomes stretched Ludwig then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before Dotson would miss it high from long range as the Loons were pushing late to try to get the equalizer. While Longwani did had a shot that was deflected and goes wide in the fourth minute of stoppage time. But we do head to halftime with Dallas leading 2-1. In the second half, the Loons were on the front foot. They were pushing to try to get the equalizer, though they were limited in terms of those low percentage shots. Rosales would hit one right to pause on the free kick, but then in the 58th minute, Minnesota ties the game. It's Hassani Dotson, and you know when Dotson gets on the score sheet, sometimes it's usually a banger, and this was a banger as he put a banger only trademark goal here from him. Though, yeah, that's one that I think Paul's probably should have done better because yes, Dotson did hit that one with pace, but it kind of hit right toward him, and with the way that Martin Paus was an absolute menace in the last game, that is one that I think he would want to have back. But the good news for him is that Pedro Musa his back because he completes the hat trick here as he scored from Leggett and Ariola to make it 3-2 in this game. So this game was a little similar to the one between the Union and Cincinnati. Every time when Minnesota got the equalizer, they immediately give up a goal right after, and yeah, that's kind of what we saw in this play. And I also wrote the Loons defense has been a no show tonight because what that is like I think the third time that they allow kind of a breakaway situation, or actually I would say that's the second time that they allow a breakaway situation, and they would allow one more in the 75th minute as Jesus Ferreira would score from Farrington and Frazier to make it 4-2 up to this point. I mean, just a 1v1 opportunity. Like when I saw Jesus Ferreira on a 1v1 opportunity, I might as well just put 4-2 in favor of Dallas because I know Fiera is not going to miss that chance. And then in the 90th minute, it will be 5-2 in favor of Dallas as Logan Farrington finally gets his first career MLS goal. He's been definitely looking for that for the past couple of games. Very unlucky over the weekend, getting denied of his first career MLS goal because of offside. But he was not denied here. He scored from Leggett to make it 5-2 in favor of Dallas. But then in the 8th minute of stoppage time, we saw something that has not happened this season for Minnesota penalty, as they were given a penalty after Gonzalez handballed this one while blocking Dotson free kick shot. You usually do not see a handball that is being called when a free kick is blocked by the wall, though on the replay when you look at it, yeah, it definitely looked like Gonzalez. There's a reason why when you basically are at the wall, you not only have to be brave, but you do not want to lift your hand up because if you lift your hand up and that ball hit your hand, that is an unnatural position, and they're gonna always call that. So yeah, that was a penalty for Minnesota. It's the first time that they had a penalty, and this is where I'm thinking, well, who's gonna take the penalty? Because with the way that when I look at the team, none of these players has been a designated penalty kick taker. It was gonna be very interesting to see who was gonna do so. And it turns out it's Will Trapp, the one that takes the penalty. And honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised one bit if he missed the penalty because, Will Trapp, he has better chance in terms of hitting the back end net than basically hitting from 12 yards out. But to my biggest surprise, he buries it. So yeah, that made it 5-3 in favor of Dallas, and that's something that definitely was not on my bingo card of seeing Will Trapp scoring from a penalty. In fact, I don't think he would ever score from the spot, or at least in regulation. I mean, he has scored in a PK shootout before, but not in a regular season game. So that's a bit of a first, and at least a bit of a consolation goal of what has just been another rough night for Minnesota on the road. They lose 5-3 in this one, and the shots in this one, again, what's kind of interesting about this game is that the shots, for the most part, were kind of in favor of Minnesota, and I would say, in terms of balance of play, in terms of chances created, Minnesota actually created more of the chances. 19 shots compared to 8 that Dallas had. 8 shots on goal for the 7 that Minnesota has. 6 shots off target for the none that Dallas had. 6 shots off block for the none that Dallas had. Yeah, that just shows you that this Loons defense were pretty much non-existent in this game when they allow 8 shots and all 8 of them were on target. And the possession wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Dallas has in this game. And yeah, Dallas are clearly enjoying the new interim head coach boost with Peter Lucien doing a really good job with this team. But for Minnesota, I reiterate what I said in the game against Seattle. They absolutely need reinforcement. I mean, they need defensive reinforcement badly. It is pretty clear that, well, I know, no, it sucks the fact that there are still players dealing with injuries and international duty. Every team has to deal deal with that. And some teams are able to deal with better because they have good depth. Minnesota just does not have that, and that I'm pretty sure Eric Ramsey know that too. He even started to express his frustration too lately, and I don't blame him because of it. But this is where this Minnesota front office, they got to do something. And again, I know the Loons fan base are frustrated that it seems like they haven't really done much, and especially there's been rumors that seems like they're not going to make some big splashes in the summer. Again, I'm going to be patient because again, the transfer window technically hasn't opened yet, and even though we have already heard that there's going to be some signings early on, it's gonna. I think that because we have Copa America and the Euros that is happening, I feel like these rumors are probably gonna be happening right after when those tournament is over. And usually, when we hear these kind of rumors right around this time of period, it usually happens when there's not a major tournament that is going on this year. And because we do have two major tournament that's going on at the same time, that is the Euros and Copa America, that's why maybe we're hearing these rumors a little bit later than usual. But there's no doubt that I think they'll definitely look in to get some reinforcement. I mean, they have to because this team is started to regress to what I thought they would be this season, which is, people forget that Minnesota has really played above their heads at least for the first couple of months, but now it seems like they're definitely regressing because of the lack of depth, and you can only do so much when your starters are basically held this team for so long before it started to collapse in these last couple of games. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next four games and the last five games to finish off this review of match week number 20. All right, so next up we got the Houston Dynamo and the Seattle Sounders, and well, at least in the first half, when the Dynamo were up 2-0, it looked like this was done. It looked like Seattle wasn't gonna come back, and then that's why you play the second half. Now, early on, there was not much happening as there was a lot whistle and stoppage in the beginning of this game. Rusnak would hit one right to Clark before Herrera would hit one right to Fry. Aussie then mishired from long range, and again, after a bit of a slow start, Houston started to wake up. They were pushing for the opening goal, and they do get it in the 30th minute. As Latif Blessing, he just cannot stop scoring goal right now for the Dynamo. He scored here from Bossi and Kovacic to give the Dynamo a 1-0 lead, and that also came off a bad turnover from the Seattle Sounders. Yeah, that is probably something you shouldn't do if you're not going to potentially get punished of giving up the opening goal. Kovacic then tried to get the second goal, and he just puts it wide on the doorstep of goal. The good news is his teammate picked up the slack because in the 40th minute, guess what? He cannot stop scoring goals right now, Latif Blessing. He scored another one here from Aliud and Bossi. That's now 5 goals that Latif Blessing has scored for the Houston Dynamo ever since joining this team. I don't know what Ben Olsen has done to Latif Blessing for him to be a goal scoring machine. I mean, even during his time with LAFC, we don't usually see him score this many goals in such a short amount of period. But I mean, the Dynamo will take it, especially of how effective he's been in limited minutes. And just like that, it's 2-0 against the Dynamo, and you're thinking, well, this is done. I mean, the Dynamo is not going to blow a 2-0 lead. They rarely do it at home, and the Sounders, knowing that they have problem in terms of on the attacking end, it's almost kind of impossible for them to come back from a 2-0 deficit, right? Well, Atencio did look to respond, but his shot was deflected and goes wide. And again, we head to halftime with the Dynamo looking like they were well in control of this game. In the second half, Dorsey would then fires it wide off of a deflection, but then in the 56th minute, Seattle gets one back. It's Paul Rothrock for the second consecutive game scoring here, and yeah, Clark, he actually denied Rothrock there, but unfortunately, it just goes right back to him there. So that's kind of one of those unfortunate situations where you make a good save, but then the ball just ricochets right back to the attacker. And then just 6 minutes later, Seattle ties the game up. It's Jackson Reagan. He scored from Rusnak to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And who in the world was marking Jackson Reagan there in the back post? Because he was completely left unmarked in the back post. Not the first time we talk about bad defending in this review. There was a lot of bad defendings in this review, and again, maybe that a part of that is because we talk about the fatigueness of teams playing on a short week. I think that's gone with the defense too, because man, there were some of these games. There was some really bad defensive play that I know MLS is not known to be a league that has the most beautiful defensive structure, but there was just so many the defensive laps that we've seen with so many teams this week, especially from the set piece, and this is another example of it. Bossy then looked to respond, but he hits it right to Fry before Kovacic would hits one right to Fry as well. And as the time winds down, it seems like the game really slowed down. Chances would started to come hard to come by, and that kind of favors the Sounders because now seems like they're gonna just trying to shut things down and maybe get a point out of this one. Though Aliu did have another opportunity for the Dynamo to win it, but he missed wide from close range. And yeah, in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this game. It is not very often the Houston Dynamo go up 2-0 at home and drop points, but they did it here as the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 9 that the Sounders had. Both teams had 5 shots on goal, 5 shots off target for the 2 that the Sounders had, 7 shots on the block for the 2 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession the Seattle Sounders has in this game. So yeah, again, the Dynamo, they will definitely be kicking themselves, blowing a 2-0 lead at home. But for the Sounders, they'll take it. They'll definitely take a point against a relatively good team. And again, things are starting looking right for the Sounders team. Now they just need to keep it going to get themselves higher in the standings. But now moving on in the next match is another crazy game, which featured a lot of goals between Sporting KC and RSL. And this was really a game where I would like to say defense basically did not exist in this game whatsoever. I mean, defending was pretty much optional at times in this game. And despite the fact that there was 7 goals that's being scored, I would argue there probably would have been more in this one as well. So that being said, unsurprisingly, early on, RSL was on the front foot and they were looking to get the first goal, and they eventually do get the first goal as in the 14th minute, Andres Gomez would score from Luna and Ojeda to give RSL a 1-0 lead. Julio would then look to make it 2-0, but he hits one right to Melia before Gomez puts one right to Melia, and you're thinking, well, this looks like it's going according to script, right? RSL is probably going to dominate this game against a lowly Sporting KC side, right? However, a penalty was then given to Sporting as Ojeda brought down Tommy in the box, and here comes Johnny Russell, a chance to tie the game up. And keep in mind, coming into this game, they mentioned that Gavin Beavers were 0 for 10 in terms of trying to save a penalty. He's now 1 for 11 because he denied Russell from the spot there. It wasn't really the best penalty from Johnny Russell, but that being said, what a moment that is for Gavin Beavers, who never have saved a penalty here. And yeah, that of course finally come to an end. And if you're a Sporting fan, you're probably thinking, yeah, of course it came to an end against us. It just feels like nothing has gone right for us this season. The good news, though, is that they do get the tying goal just 4 minutes later, as Afrifa, who of course scored last week, he scored again this week. He scored from Rodoja to tie the game up at 1 apiece. It did not stay tied for long because in the 33rd minute, Julio would get on the score sheet. He scored from Luna and Anelli to give RSL the lead again. So Diego Luna, another great night with him with two assists. Though Tommy did try to do an overhead kick to respond, but that one goes wide. And really, RSL got away with this one because they gave the ball away in their own half prior to Tommy trying to do the spectacular there. And then Melia would absolutely rock Diego Luna on the doorstep of goal. So, Luna, of course, providing assists. He definitely wanted to get on the score sheet as well, but Melia had other ideas. We head to halftime with the scoreline 2-1 in favor of RSL. In the second half, Arango would hit one right to Melia, and really like the first half, RSL looked like they were the better team coming out of the locker room, looking to restore that 2-goal lead, and they do. As Andre Gomez would score again here to make it 3-1 in favor of RSL, just phantom defending there from Sporting KC, especially with the way that I think it was Fontas. He's trying to take the ball away, trying to step up, completely missed it, and basically play Gomez through there. And again, that just kind of sums up this season for Sporting KC on the defensive end, and also kind of sums up this game as well because again, defense not a thing in this one. Agata then looked to respond, but he hits right to Beavers before Beavers denying Tommy from long range as Sporting was pressing back to look to trying to get one back, and they do. And it finally happened. William Agata finally scored a goal. It's been a long time that has happened, but he finally scored here from Bassan to make it 3-2 in favor of RSL. So again, this week we also saw a couple of guys that desperately need a goal have been going for a bit of a goal drought. It has finally come to an end, though Dante Banzier would like to have a word in which he was part of that list of guys that has just been snake bitten lately that just cannot buy a goal. But William Agata finally does so. And yeah, it is pulled within one here. Agata then tried to tie the game up, but he heads it wide from close range. And then Beavers denied Agata from close range, as all of a sudden now the momentum was back with Sporting KC. RSL looked like they were kind of hanging on a little bit, and they were definitely looking vulnerable at the back because again, no defense can be found in this game whatsoever. Russell then hits one right to Beavers, but then in the 84th minute, really against the run of play, Matt Crooks would score his first career MLS goal from Arango and Gomez to restore the 2-goal lead, and you're just thinking, well, that's probably it, right? I mean, sure, that's kind of the dagger of this game, right? Well, remember, no defense in this one, so obviously Sporting KC is looking to respond, though not before when Melia absolutely robbed Arango from close range there. And yeah, safe to say that I also say the Sporting KC have the white flag along with the non-existent defending, but of course they made it a little interesting late as Agata would then miss wide from close range, and then Davis had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. But then the 5th minute stoppage time, William Agata would score from Rodriguez. So Agata, after breaking his drought, now he has 2 goals on the night. That made it 4-3 in this game and definitely made it maybe a little interesting. I mean, at that point it was a consolation goal, but with the way how this game has gone, you never know. Maybe something crazy will happen and maybe a meltdown could happen. And it almost did because in the 6 minute of stoppage time, literally 1 minute after Agata pulled within one, the post denied Eric Tommy from a long range effort. And yeah, for RSL, they are probably kissing the post a lot after this game because yeah, they almost had an epic meltdown in stoppage time. They hold on to win 4-3 in this one. The shots in this one, 30 shots compared to 14 that RSL has. 11 shots on goal compared to 9 that RSL has in this game. 7 shots off target compared to 1 that RSL had. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 10 that Sporting KC had. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that RSL has in this game. And while RSL will be happy that they got all 3 points out of this game and they keep their unbeaten run, I'm pretty sure Pablo Mastroeni is not going to be happy with the way how his team played defensively, especially with the way that they almost collapsed late in this game. And again, they are very thankful the Poles rescued themselves because imagine if they were leading 4-2 in a game only to draw all 4 apiece because they gave up 2 late goals in a matter of a minute. Yeah, Pablo Mastroeni would just would be absolutely fuming about this result. But for Sporting KC, I mean, I know this season has been a rough season. If there is maybe some silver line, they at least show some fight in this game, and that many times where I thought they looked like they gave up, they continue to fight hard and trying to get themselves back in the game, and they came very close to do so if it wasn't for the post getting in the way. But unfortunately, that's kind of only the just it's kind of the sentiment feeling if you're a Sporting KC fan of just what has just been a disastrous season for them so far. Now, moving on in the next match is St. Louis versus the Colorado Rapids. So, speaking of a disastrous season, St. Louis is kind of having that right now because yeah, this is probably the worst performance they've ever played at in front of their home fans, and I think and you can also back it up in terms of the stats wise because I don't think St. Louis have ever lost by 3 or more at City Park, and that all happened tonight. And it did not get off to a good start either because 9 minutes into this game, Georgi Mihailovic would score from Anderson to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. That was also the first shot of the game, and this came from a throw-in too. So yeah, no, this is a goal that it should have been preventable and just horrendous defending there from St. Louis when a goal come from a throw-in. I always say that whenever a goal come from a throw-in, there has to be question has to be asked for the defense, and in this case, St. Louis, that defense just kind of stopped playing when that ball throw into the box and it basically bounced in the box. The number one rule when it comes to ball comes into the box, whether from a throw in or from a cross, you never want to let the ball bounce in the 6 yard area because if you let that ball bounce, all kinds of chaos will happen. And guess what? Mihailovic was there to get get the bouncing ball in the 6 yard box, and unsurprisingly, the Rapids lead 1-0 because of just some lackadaisical moment by the St. Louis defense. Totland did look to respond, but he hits it right to Stefan before Leuven would miss wide from close range. So a penalty was then given to St. Louis as Abubakar would handball this one into the box. So here comes Edouard Leuven, a chance to tie the game up, and Leuven, he's not gonna miss from the spot, right? He struck the post from the spot, and that's when you know that this is clearly not St. Louis night, and that's when you also know that it just feels like nothing has gone right for the St. Louis team this season. When Evan Leuven, a guy that is basically a guarantee from the spot, miss a penalty. In fact, I think that's the first penalty he has ever missed for St. Louis City, if I'm not mistaken, and that won't be the only time where we see a surefire fame for St. Louis come undone in this game. In the 34th minute, Fernandez just missed it on the doorstep of goal as there was a lovely delivery ball that was coming into the box there that Fernandez just could not poke it in. And then Bassett would puts it over the bar from long range before Stefan on the other end denied Markanich from close range. But we do head to halftime with the Rapids leading 1-0 and looking relatively comfortable. In the second half, Cabral would hit it right to Berkey before Berkey denied Fernandez from close range as the Rapids clearly have come out the second half as the better side. They were looking to get that second goal, and they do. And Mihanovic would score once again here to make it 2-0. And again, this is clearly not St. Louis night, and clearly not St. Louis season when even their best weapons are on this team in Roman Berkey. Their surefire thing in Roman Berkey makes a mistake, and here Roman Berkey trying to go quickly on the attack, trying to quickly play it short, trying to throw it and play it short here, but he was not aware that Mihailovic was still in the vicinity. So when he basically threw the ball to start an attack, he basically threw it right into the path of Mihailovic. So yeah, just a brutal mistake there from Roman Burki. And Mihailovic says, "Thank you very much. It's 2-0 in favor of the Rapids." Ruben did look to respond, but he hits it right to Stefan before Navarro would hits it high from close range. Up to that point, I thought this game was done because there is no way in the world St. Louis can come back after just those two brutal mistakes. And I also want to say that those two mistakes that St. Louis has made, maybe this is kind of divine intervention really started to hit St. Louis hard because remember how last year St. Louis getting benefit of those goals of some defensive mistake that is played by their opposition, and part of that is because of the press that they use. Oh man, this season it's been the complete opposite. It's been them that is getting the divine intervention of making mistakes left and right. And I guess maybe if you're a fan of a team that made those mistakes against St. Louis, you're probably putting a little bit of smirk in your face in terms of the fact that yeah, looks like karma has finally started to come back to hit St. Louis after them getting all the lucky breaks that they got in their first season. But like I said, in the 72nd minute, Vasilev would puts it onto the roof of the net, which actually fooled the St. Louis fans. They thought that one went in. It did not go in, though. And really, as the time winds down, Colorado looked like they were cruising to this victory. St. Louis, they looked like they were down and out in this game. And really, they looked like they were down and out as soon as Berkey made that mistake. And then in the 80th minute, Navarro would heads it high from the corner, and then in the 5th minute stoppage time, just to add more insult to injury, a penalty was given to the Rapids after Watts brought down Calvin Harris in the box. So in comes Mihailovic, a chance to score from the spot to finish his hat trick, and he does that. So yeah, that made it 3-0. That was the final score of this game, and the shots in this one: 16 shots for the 15 of the Rapids had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 of the Rapids had, 5 shots off target for the 4 of the Rapids had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to the 4 that the Rapids had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to, and it should be 46% possession that the Rapids had. I'm not sure why that I wrote 36. That doesn't actually equal the 100%. But yeah, for the Rapids, a very impressive victory. I think this performance, along with the role performance they had against the Quakes, where they also won by the same scoreline, is probably one of the most impressive role performance that they've done this season. But a lot of that is because of the fact that they're playing it against a team at home that clearly has no confidence whatsoever. I mean, this St. Louis side, it has just gone all wrong in the second season. I mean, we knew that there was going to be some regression that they'll suffer, But man, they're suffering the same problem that Austin had last season, where not only they suffer regression, but it is hard regression that they have suffered compared to their amazing first season that they had. With that being said, I am now going to change boards one last time to look at the two West Coast game, including the one that I went last night. So now we're going to talk about the two West Coast game, and I was told that these two West Coast game was probably going to be featuring a lot of goals. Well, I basically said that in the preview, and yeah, it didn't really quite work out that way. Though that being said, in this game between the Galaxy and NYCFC, I think this was a game that the Galaxy will be probably happy, and especially Galaxy fans will be happy to see this kind of game because while it wasn't just kind of a roller coaster ride that we usually see with Galaxy game, I think Galaxy fans will absolutely take a game where they don't have to be just completely stressed out because their defense just decided to make the game as entertaining as possible. Now, early on, Pereira had a shot that was actually clear off the line, but the whistle was already blown here, so even if that went in, it wouldn't have counted. But I thought NYCFC controlled most of the possession, and that was kind of what I thought it was going to happen because you know the Galaxy is going to try to sit back and hit on the transition. They're the most lethal counter-attacking team this season in the league. Peck would then mishit a shot that goes wide before Fagundes would have a shot that took a deflection, but it goes right to Freeze. And I thought the Galaxy started to woke up. They were looking for the opening goal. Though, as I said that, Wolfwood hits one wide from close range as the shots were only at one apiece, 25 minutes into this game. In the 26th minute, the third shot of the game saw Peck puts it wide from close range before Rodriguez on the other end puts it high from long range. O2 then puts it wide from long range as NYCFC once again started to dictate the game again. And they were also taking a couple of those long range effort. And while these are low percentage shot, some of them came very close in terms of scoring. And I thought maybe NYCFC eventually is going to capitalize on one of them, right? Well, no, it didn't because in the first minute, a little bit against the run of play, Dejan Joveljic would get the opening goal of the game, and it was an absolute gift here. I mean, just a bad turnover here from James Sands into his own box, and yeah, Joveljic took full advantage of that, and just like that, the Galaxy made it 1-0. He then tried to make it 2-0 just 2 minutes later, but he puts it wide from close range. As now all of a sudden the momentum was with the Galaxy. They were looking for a second goal late in the first half, but we do head to halftime with the Galaxy leading 1-0. In the second half, Peck would hit one right to Freeze, and then 2 minutes later, or 1 minute later, they would get that second goal as Diego Fagundes would score from Jovic and Peck to make it 2-0 over the Galaxy. Guess what? It came from the counterattack, and that's just kind of the most Galaxy goal we've seen this season. This team has been just so lethal on the counterattack, and it's hard to believe that you probably now know that if you can stop the Galaxy counterattack, you can probably win games, and yet even when the book is out, you know, the Galaxy are still doing very well when it comes to these transitional attack to a point where this kind of makes you wonder, is it mainly because they just have just way too much weapon going for on the attack that provide these good counter moment that no matter what you try to do and no matter that you knew it's coming, you just can't stop it because of how lethal it is. Bakura then puts it wide as the flag went up, and then he puts it high again from long range because he's not allowed to score a goal except for that game he had a couple of weeks ago. NYCFC started to dictate the game again, but that again just feels by design, and this kind of doesn't play in their favor because that's what the Galaxy want. They want to sit back, look for those transitional moments, especially when they're 2-0 up. McCarthy then denied Jones from close range before Peck would try to hit it from long range, and it just clipped the post there in the 63rd minute. It was then a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy, not given. We go for a period where not much really happened, as it feels like the Galaxy were looking to see this game out, and this is exactly what Greg Vanny and a lot of Galaxy fans want to see. They do not want to see a game where it is end and action and see the NYCFC get one back, and then next thing you know, it's gonna end up like what we saw over the weekend against Sporting KC. But I also thought that maybe fatigue was starting to catch up to NYCFC again. You know, it's tough to try to play a road game, but it's even tougher that you have to travel all the way across the other side of the country and play it on a short week. Curi- Carrillos would then put one back to LA proper in the 76th minute before Peck would hit one right to Freeze. Freeze then denied Peck from close range before Morales on the other end puts it high from close. And then McCarthy would deny Tenisejevic from long range, as the Galaxy were looking to keep a clean sheet, which is something we have not seen them do a lot this season. But they do it here as they get a 2-0 win against NYCFC. The shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 14 that NYCFC had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 and the Galaxy had, 4 shots off target for the 6 that NYCFC had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession the Galaxy has in this game. And this is kind of the soccer that the Galaxy need to play if they want to really have some serious contention of potentially winning the West. Because as fun as Galaxy has been this season, especially as a neutral watching them play, Galaxy fans must be absolutely hating the amount of goals that they have gave up, and also just the amount of times that they don't put games away in a comfortable manner. But they do it in this game, and let's see whether that's going to continue. Though for NYCFC, yeah, I would say that this is definitely one of the worst game that Nick Cushing has or Nick Cushing and his team has played in recent memory. But again, maybe that is a lot to do with the fact that again, it's not easy to go on the road and especially travel across the other side of the country on a short week, and maybe fatigueness kind of catch up to this NYCFC team, especially when they didn't get an early goal in this game. With that being said, moving on into the last game, and yes, we're finally made it to the end here, and finally get to talk about the game that I went last night between the Timbers versus the Quakes. And again, I thought that this game was going to feature a lot of goals. Turns out that, of course, is not the case. Though, as soon as the Quakes gave up that late goal again, and once again give up the winning goal late in the one, I thought this was gonna get ugly for the Quakes. I thought I was gonna see a repeat of what I saw with them against Cincinnati at home over the weekend and NYCFC just last week. Turns out that, of course, isn't the case. So at least you could say maybe that's a little improvement to this team. Again, it's been a miserable season for the Quakes, and all I'm expecting for the Quakes now is just kind of play it for pride and maybe show some promise that things are going to turn around in the future, and just maybe also take any positive I can say about the Quakes, even if it's on a losing effort. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Ayala puts it high from close before Mora puts it high from 10 yards out, as I thought the Timbers were the better side early on in this one. Though Muni did put the ball into the back of net, the problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. By the way, I did not celebrate when the ball goes in, just to see how the fans would cheer, and it wasn't really a loud cheer when that ball goes into the back of net. Which again, that just kind of shows you that even Quakes fans are kind of lost hope of this season. And I also think that it's due to the fact that there wasn't really a lot of fans showed up in the stands for this game. I would not be surprised if the attendance that they announced is under 10,000, because it definitely does not look like there was 10,000 fans that showed up for this game whatsoever. But up to this point, the shots were 4-1 for the Timbers early on, and in the 20th minute, they get the opening goal as Evander would gets the opening goal for the Timbers. But yeah, this was just an absolute gift here from Jacob Jackson, who of course comes into this game. And I gotta feel bad for Jacob Jackson, because this is his chance to prove that he can maybe be the guy for this Quakes team, because that goalkeeping revolving door question is now popping up once again for the Quakes, especially how bad Yarbrough has been in the last couple of games. But this is a chance for Jackson to prove that he can be the guy in net, and then he does this where he basically take a poor touch there as he was trying to dribble out. Again, how many times I've talked about when you're the goalkeeper, just boot it up. Don't be cute, and don't take a heavy touch, because if you decide to do that, yeah, bad things gonna always happen, and bad thing did happen in this one as Jackson's poor touch basically put it right into Evander. He basically had an empty net to shoot there. Well, actually, Evander actually pickpocketed him there because of the poor touch there from Jackson. But still, yeah, just an absolute gift that the Timbers got something that, again, with the Quakes of how bad they've been defensively, it feels like it's on point that they would give up a goal like that. So in the 24th minute, Yu would look to answer, but he missed wide there before Costa puts it high as the flag went up. The Quakes did try to get one back, but so far it feels like every time when they get into the final third, it's been a black hole, because they really haven't created too much chances in the final third whatsoever. So in the 42nd minute, Moreno did try to make it 2-0, but he puts it high onto the roof of the net. and we do head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. In the second half, Beeson would head it right to Pentemis, but then in the 49th minute, Quakes do tie the game up. It's Paul Marie. He scored here to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and I gotta say, for Paul Marie, I'm gonna say the same thing I said about Hassani Dotson with Minnesota United. When Paul Marie has scored, you know it's a banger because it's bangers only for Paul Marie. He scored an absolute banger here. And normally I would say this is definitely contention for goal of the week, but we already know who's gonna win the goal of the week this week, as I mentioned earlier in this video. But in the 52nd minute, Pellegrino was in on goal there, and he actually rounded the keeper and missed wide. I was expecting the flag to come up. Like when he basically puts that one wide there, I was expecting, well, the flag's gonna come up, and the goal was not gonna count. The flag never came up. So, yeah, that is definitely not a great moment there for Amal. Pellegrino did all the hard work there, but just could not put that one on target. Though, again, it's not a big surprise considering Pellegrino, along with a lot of these Quakes players, having a very underachieving kind of season. Moreno then had a shot that took a deflection and goes wide before Bravo puts one way wide from long range. Espinoza then puts it high from close in the 62nd minute, as I thought chances were starting to come for both of these teams, as both were looking to get that second goal. And in the end, it's the Timbers that gets the second goal, as in the 72nd minute, Jonathan Capacito Rodriguez would score from Evander to give the Timbers a 2-1 lead. It was a lovely delivery there from Evander. We know he can definitely provide those good delivery there, especially those crosses in the box, and he plays it right into the back post where Rodriguez was just in the right place at the right time to head that one in. And that's when I thought, oh boy, this could get ugly for the Quakes, because I've seen how when they give up late goals, that third, fourth, or even fifth goal is not going to be far behind. And I'm just thinking, is Capacito Rodriguez about to score a hat trick against the Quakes, and that the Timbers will make history? Uh, the 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 good news is, at least in the Quakes perspective, it didn't happen, because Muni would then hit it wide from the corner before Anthony basically sent one into the East base, basically trying to pay homage to the other Anthony from Man United. But really, as the time winds down, the Quakes, they didn't capitulate. They actually did try to get the late equalizer, and the Timbers were kind of hanging on a little bit late in this game. And they had a big chance to do so in the fifth minute stoppage time when Alfredo Morales puts it over just on the doorstep of goal. And I remember that moment just is a nutshell of the Quake season. But because here you are, a chance to get a late tying goal to salvage a point in this game, and he does not do that, or they do not do that. So yeah, in the end, the Timbers, they win 2-1 in this game. The shots in this one, there was actually a lot of shots. 18 shots compared to 15 that the Timbers had. But not a lot of shots on goal. Only 2 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Timbers had. Both teams had 5 shots that was off target. A lot of shots blocked too. 10 shots that was blocked with the 6 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that the Portland Timbers has in this game. And again, overall, the good news for the Quakes is at least they didn't just absolutely capitulate and just kind of embarrass late in this game as well. The bad news is they lose another game. I mean, honestly, nowadays when it comes to the Quakes losing both at home and on the road, I don't really have too much feeling of it, because that's just how this season has been. This season is clearly just done for this team. And for the Portland Timbers, congratulations, you get a free points on the road, even though I know the Timbers in this game, they had some worrying moments at times, especially on the defensive front. There were at times where the Quakes were able to expose them, but hey, they did just enough to get the win in this one. And not to mention, again, it feels like now anytime when you face against the Quakes, if you don't get free points, then you probably maybe don't deserve to make it to the playoffs, or at least compete for the playoffs. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of my review of all these games. Yes, we finally made it to the end of the review. And of course, if you're still watching this, thank you for all the support. And also, if you're probably just looking at the timesheet too, in terms of all these games, that's good as well, because I'm pretty sure not everyone has time to watch 90 minutes of this video, and that's why the timesheet basically exists. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.